I went to the bar for a beer. I paid $2.25 for a Bud Light Lime. I was having a particularly hard day, and I just wanted to drink that pain away. So I go outside to sit down and smoke and drink this beer. I noticed that a strange man had walked up and was walking around all of the picnic tables. I told him where he could go get some alcohol if he wanted some, where the bartender was and everything, and he approached me and he said, "That's not what I'm here for." I said, "Okay," in a strange, it was just weird. So he asked if he could sit down where I was, and of course I said yeah, because I don't bite or anything like that. So he sat down and he began to tell me that he didn't think that I should drink that beer. And I was like, "Oh, really? Well, why should I not drink this beer?" And he said because he asked me if I had a Bible in my truck, and I actually did. And I said yes, which I thought was very strange that he knew that. And he said, "Well, I know I'm talking to the right one then." So we sat down and looked at each other, and I asked him why he thought I shouldn't drink, and he said, "Well, God's telling me that you shouldn't drink." He said he was from a church in Heron, and I was like, "Oh boy, here's another greater than thou person telling me that I shouldn't drink." And he said that God was telling him to come to that place and speak to me and tell me that I needed to give God the pen and let God write my story, and to not be afraid to do what God has called me to do. See, I had been struggling with things like that before. I was wondering if I was good enough for God or anything like that. And for that strange man just to come up to me and speak to me like that was amazing. It was God totally trying to pull me out of what I was in and pull me out of it. And it did. That was the best $2.25 I ever spent. If you want to know how the rest of the story went, the man got up and left, and I finished my cigarette, and I looked at the beer, and I took it and I threw it in the trash can, and I went home to make one of these videos nonetheless. Then I come to church tonight, on Wednesday night at SIWC, and the preacher preaches a message out of Jeremiah, or he preached all over the place, but one of those quotes were out of Jeremiah, and that's Jeremiah 18 verse 3, and I'm going to read it for you real quick. It says, "Then I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, making something at the wheel. And the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to make. And then God spoke to Jeremiah, saying, O house of Israel, can I not do this with you as this potter? Says the Lord, look, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are you not in my hand." And that really spoke to me. Because we are like clay in the potter's hand. And somebody else has spoken that over me this week too, that I needed to think of myself as clay in God's hands, that he's molding us and making us to what he needs us to be. And clay, I don't know if you've ever seen it or anything like that, but it's got little rocks in it, it's got little Mars in it, or anything like that. And you can just imagine running your hands through it. And I like to think of those rocks and everything in my life as the alcohol or drug addictions or anger or anything like that, or my past or anything. And as God is waving his hands through that clay, he's weaving out those rocks. He's shaving it off to where I'm perfect, or not where I'm perfect, but where I'm in a progress of a beautiful thing that he can use, a vessel that he can use, that he could pour out his spirit and use me to speak to other people and everything. And just think of yourselves as that. Think of yourselves as that glob of clay that you see is imperfect and not good enough to do anything, and watch God make something beautiful out of you. I just wanted to share that with you.